You ever watch Catholic YouTube?
You did put up, yeah.
Okay.
No, I haven't.
Okay. You got to watch Catholic YouTube.
What
You
is-
got to get on Catholic YouTube. Because
Okay.
there's a whole section of YouTube that is just their monks, friars, priests, exorcists.
Interesting.
Exorcists. So they legit believe that demons can possess people.
Okay.
And this can be the cause of a lot of destructive behaviors. So it's not the person itself, it's something coming in and possessing a person.
Okay.
So if someone were to come up to you and say, Dr. Donald, I think I'm possessed by an evil spirit that's making me act in this way, what do you say?
So, personally, as a Christian, I mean, the whole concept of demon possession is like a fringe subject in our religion. I'm not going to say I believe it, but I'm not going to say I don't. I don't really know that area. It's enough to say, like, oh, no, you're lying. But to your point, I did have a patient before who said that, who basically said, oh, yeah, all this is due to a demon, all this is due to that. So I inquire about it. Tell me everything about it. Tell me everything that happened before you were possessed, everything in the midst of it, after, while observing that person. So in my personal experience, it was false because they were just using it as a means to kind of explain their kind of shitty behavior to other people, kind of the whole sociopath type thing that we talked about. So my personal experience, I look at everything. I look at all the factors. I'm not just asking questions based on what you say. I'm looking at how you were before. I'm looking at how you are after. A lot of times when I evaluate people, actually not a lot of times, every time I evaluate someone, I'm talking to people who know them. I'm seeing literally how they are minutes before I talk to them. So I'm like observing them. And then I'm talking to them, and then I observe them a little bit after they leave. So I'm using all that information just to like make my opinion. So same thing with the demon thing. I'm asking about all that stuff to see if it's consistent, see if they really did act a certain way, because there is a mental disorder called dissociative identity disorder, which is what they know is multiple personality disorder, where basically you're taken over and it's usually rooted in trauma. And you have a distinctly different personality, but you're not able to identify it. That's usually the main separator for someone that has a disorder. So you're in this different trance state or this different personality, but you're not aware of it. So someone that says they're aware of a demon possession, I rule that out. I'm talking about all that stuff. But I don't know. To me, personally, I think it's BS, just from my personal experience. But to answer your question, I really can't give an answer. I really don't know either side. But I've had that a lot of times, people saying I was possessed, but ask all those questions and I'm not able to give reliable answers. Because if that happened to me, I could tell you everything that happened. I can tell you, all the stuff that you would want to know, because I would want that help and I would be scared doing it. So I need to see that also.
Do you think that when they do this, they want attention from the priest or the families?
Can be possible. I mean, with my experience that I talked about, it was more so this was it's kind of like someone who I'm giving terrible examples today, but someone who's like going to a party, they drink, get hammered, they act like an asshole. What would you think in that situation? They have two things. One, oh yeah, that's not me, I was just drinking. And secondly, oh, don't blame me, it was the alcoholic version of me doing that. So it's like a built-in excuse, essentially. And it's an excuse to kind of be disinhibited. So disinhibited, like not really caring what other people say, you can let loose, and then it's like, oh, I gotta just fall back on this excuse. It was the demon that made me do it. So kind of that's the mindset I have when someone tells me, oh yeah, there's a demon. Okay, tell me about it. Tell me how you were before it. Tell me what happened in the midst of it. Oh, this all corresponded with you doing this certain thing, and it's because the demon happened. Okay, what made the demon leave? When you stopped doing the bad thing, the demon just left? Okay. Tell me more about this. How do you know it's a demon? So you're going to ask all these questions, and depending on the consistency of it, depending on how they are before and after, that would kind of answer the question for me. I personally think it's an excuse. I don't think it's something that's real.
So according to Catholic YouTube, you can tell if the demon has left or not. The person can't hear the prayer, the Lord's Prayer, or holy water will help a lot.
Interesting.
Because they can't stand the holy water. So they'll be like, oh, the demon will be like, oh, I left. And then the priest will be like, oh, holy water. Like,
do they actually show exorcisms on YouTube? Or they just
Um,
talk about it?
I didn't see one on YouTube, but I did see one on Netflix. It was a documentary of the Italian priest that the exorcism was based on. I can
Hmm.
send that to you.
Yeah.
So a lot of these are very mild possessions. Like they're not going out and killing people. They're just kind of acting up a little bit. And I'm like, it's got to be something like multiple personality disorder.
Yeah. Possibly. And it's just under the guise of that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's usually rooted in trauma. So I would ask about that history. Like, and trauma can be physical, emotional, but even neglect can manifest as trauma. And like you said, acting out as a means to get attention. And this is the result of that. And it's like, oh, let me make up this entire character to get my whoever I'm trying to get attention from's attention. So it's possible. And that speaks more to like the tendencies we talked about, like psychopaths, sociopath, trying to do what you got to do to get a response. Possibly.
That's interesting. Did you see the movie The Devils of Loudun?
The Devils of Blue Dawn?
Loudun.
Mm-mm.
It's a historical documentary, not documentary. It's a historical drama based on a real story. But basically, it's just these
Writing it.
nuns who they go mad, and they say that this priest, who was they make him look good in the movie, but really when you look at the history, like this guy had knocked up somebody's daughter. He was a terrible priest, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he might have been good at reciting the scripture, but he was not a good man. And that I was just using that as an example of back in the day when people said that they were possessed. It used to happen all the time. These women would say that they were possessed or whatever. That was multiple personality disorder,
Possibly, yeah.
possibly.
Yeah. Could
Okay.
be. What behaviors did they exhibit?
I mean, like you said, it was an excuse to be disinhibited.
Okay.
So sort of go wild, and they're nuns, so they're very just stay in prayer, stoic prayer. And then this was an excuse probably to just let all of those suppressed sexual desires just go free.
Interesting. Did they ever like revert back? Did they ever remember what they were doing when they weren't acting like nuns?
I'm not sure. Honestly.
Because it could just be, like you said, the excuse, but it's like this person who we held to such a moral standard is acting in this way and saying it's okay to do it. So now I have the ability to do it. Almost the same as like our past president doing that same thing. And now it's socially okay to do this in public. So it could be that as well. Not necessarily multiple personality. It just could be like letting loose because you just don't have the ability to do it at all because it's just repressed and suppressed. So it's like, now we have permission to let go. Let's do it. Let's all do it together.
They killed the man. They burned him at the stake. So
shit.
I'm not sure what the history is, the actual history, not just the movie of what happened to the nuns
Okay.
after they burned this man at the stake. But what you were saying before, if it's socially acceptable to do this, then it's not strange, right? If society gives it the okay, then
It's okay.
it's whatever goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
Yeah. If there's no consequences for it and it's like, oh yeah, you're good. Da-da-da-da. Go about your way. It's like, okay, cool. I can keep doing this. I have permission to keep doing it.
So there's no absolute morality.
I would say no. It's fluctuating. I mean, the only absolute morality is like, don't kill. Don't
But
rape.
not in war.
That's true. That's true. Don't rape. Don't. That's probably only one, really, if you think about it. But what we say are absolutes, day-to-day absolutes. You shouldn't lie, but yeah, there's white lies, stuff like that. But yeah, I would say it fluctuates just based on the society. If you live in a lawless society, normal is being lawless and not following rules. If you live in a society that's very intact and very strict, normal is staying within that. And abnormal or weird is pushing the boundaries or, hey, this is too strict. Let me go a little bit past this. That would be considered weird. Like, why are you not adhering to the strict rules of society? Why are you trying to make laws in this lawless society? You're weird. You're weird. It's like you're going against the social norm. To a point, like, because certain people try to act weird, but it's still normal. It's just like, oh yeah, they're just expressing themselves. They're good.
They're acting more to be normal.
Yeah.
It's normal to be weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
And weird meaning not conformist type attire, conformist type appearance. Now weird is like we talked about the hairstyles, the hair color, the way to dress. Like to me, I would like the way I'm dressing now is actually very formal when I go to work. When I go to work, I wear hoodies and jeans and stuff like that. And that could be considered weird. I wear the hat I always wear is what I wear to work, what I wear in front of my patients. To the point where like other doctors are like, oh, were you on call last night? I'm like, well, no, this is just how I choose to dress, but thank you. So kind of changing it up. It's considered weird, and I know probably behind my back they're saying it's weird, but like I'm comfortable in it. So hopefully maybe that becomes a new normal, and I've actually seen other docs kind of dress in jeans and kind of dress down too, which our work allows. So maybe it's not weird because they're allowing me to be myself within this normal environment without kind of questioning it, or just there's like little things here and there, but it's not really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Weird would be if I wore like shorts and like a basketball jersey or something just out of nowhere to work. That would be weird.
And it would be weird if you dressed in a 3-piece suit.
Yeah, because it's like, yeah, you normally don't do that.
Yeah.
It's normal within this setting, but you as a person in this environment don't do that. So that's weird.
So if somebody shows up, doesn't usually wear a 3-piece suit, they're wearing a 3-piece suit.
Yeah.
Are they possessed by a demon?
Possibly. Because then they're going to ask you, hey, what's going on? Why are you acting like that? I don't know. It's this demon inside me telling me to dress nicely and to have this cane and monocle. I don't know. Who knows?
Okay, this is completely unrelated. This is the last time I asked, and it's super stupid. Okay. If you had a patient
Yeah.
and they said that they're possessed by a demon and the demon is telling them to be a good citizen and do all these good things,
Mm-hmm.
but you know this person is out there is no demon, but the demon is a very good influence.
Mm-hmm.
Do you let that person slide? You're just like, you can go back to society with your demon?
So to answer your question, I do have a patient like that, similar situation, but it's not a demon. This patient here is an entity. This entity is telling actually a couple patients. This entity is telling the patient to love everyone and, to be well and just love, just general concept of love. But this same entity also tells them to harm people or harm themselves, to the point when they came to the hospital, they're actually in the hospital for that harm that the deity told them. So in psychiatry, it's all about a spectrum. So if the deity is still present, cool, as long as it's telling you not to hurt other people, hurt yourself. So I'm fine with that situation happening. If they're not hurting themselves, hurting other people, and it's consistent throughout the time they've been there, it's cool. Let's keep it going. And it's not influencing other things like their eating habits, sleeping, bathing, all that stuff. Because we look at all those factors before we send someone out. So if they're able to live their life with this unseen entity kind of telling them things and they're not bothered by it, they're not like distressed by it, that's fine. I don't think that's something I can keep them in the hospital for and take away their civil liberties of living life because they have this thing that's a part of them. I just get concerned when that other stuff happens. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's our goals for treatment. You're going to have this illness as part of you. You might have certain symptoms, but we don't want you to hurt yourself, hurt other people, and you got to take care of yourself. If you're able to do that, you're ready.
Nice.
So that's what we do.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Will you please come back?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for having me. This is fun. I love this.
They're going to love you.